Welcome, everyone, to MB Geeks Let's Talk. We are talking today about probably one of the greatest shows that showed up on YouTube and then eventually showed up on Netflix, and that is fucking Cobra Kai. So, with me today is is a special co-host, Orange Hat.
How you doing?
I got to come up with a really good Orange Hat, but I got to come up with a good intro to it. I got to figure out a good intro to it. I have it for several other people. I got to come up with a good intro for you before I go into Orange Hat reviews. I got to come up with a better intro. But yeah, when this series first came out after the first season, I refer to it as the gold standard. I said, and I've continued to say this is the gold standard of how you continue a fucking franchise. This is how you do it right. And the rest of fucking Hollywood, they take a fucking note.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those of you who don't know, actually, Orange Hat, why don't you, since you are way more articulate at it than I am, would you mind kind of glossing over the first 4 seasons so we can get to season 5 and kind of talk about that? You seem to do that much more articulately than I can. I'd like to give you that.
Season 1 came up with a premise to continue the story of the Karate Kid franchise, where Johnny's basically midlife crisis, and he's still sour about a kick that, well, he honestly didn't, or he shouldn't have been sour about. I have made it very vocal that I've disagreed with the launch premise of Cobra Kai, but I absolutely love the show. Where now Cobra Kai, or Johnny, basically meets this kid. They strike a bond, and he reopens Cobra Kai because he also got his his car destroyed by Daniel LaRusso's daughter and her friends. And so they have their little meet and greet and whatnot. And he's like, you know what, screw it. There's these kids getting bullied and I need to help this kid. And so he starts up. Second season, it gets even bigger because now Kreese is back. And Kreese is basically takes Cobra Kai from Johnny and turns it into something turns it back into the bullying bullshit that it was. And season 3, we get a return to Okinawa, to Mr. Miyagi's hometown of Tomi Village. And it's basically become a capitalist hub where Kumiko, the characters from Karate Kid 2, are all there, including the girl that Daniel saved from.
Yes, I actually want to mention that. That I thought was a wonderful addition right there. It's like she's helping him out. It's like, you're the one who saved me, and he's like, you're the girl. Yep. No, he had no clue.
Oh, he recognized her after a moment.
Yeah, after a moment, but it just,
And at this point, his business was suffering because of his own need to fight against Cobra Kai. And it's like, and she just happened to be well placed. Now, a lot of people call that plot convenience, where it's actually not. It's a well placed source. The world moves and works in mysterious ways. A lot of people don't realize that.
Also, Japanese culture is not our culture.
Very true. And so then in the 4th season, we get the return of Terry Silver. And there's a somebody shared a deleted scene of Terry Silver going in or driving on the highway and remembering the stuff that he put Daniel through. And he's kind of still conflicted about it when he's going to visit Kreese. And remember, when John Kreese called up Terry Silver hung up on him. He wanted nothing to do with it anymore. He had grown up. He even told him, dude, I was high on coke in the 80s. And I terrorized this poor kid and assaulted him. So yeah, I want nothing to do with that. But then he just kept on hearing the call. He kept Kreese got in his head. And so he basically pulls what I like to call the Darth Malgus of the Karate Kid and
Oh,
says,
nice.
"You are my weakness, so I'm getting rid of you." And he has Kreese arrested after after Silver beats the crap out of
Stingray.
Stingray. And then the reason why I call it the Darth Malgus is because, for those of you who know Star Wars lore, Darth Malgus killed his own wife because he found that she might be a weakness. And yeah, so there's that. So then we have the return of Silver and the Cobra Kai winning the All Valley. And we know that Silver pays off the ref at the end of the season. And then now we're in season 5 where it all comes to it, or it's coming to a big head because we now see that there's even something beyond the All Valley.
Yes, and you said it, and we'll get into it because you could pronounce it and I couldn't. But we'll get into that tournament a little bit later. One of the things I actually looked up when I was doing some reviews, Orange Hat, is that this is still a very contained 5 seasons. I actually found out they said we started in 2019. We're actually still technically in 2019. We haven't shifted to 2022. So this is all. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, that even makes more sense now to me. Because I'm like, oh, it's all so close together that they're still recently dealing with the trauma. Like Sam dealing with the loss, Tori finding out the truth, Miguel wanting to find out about his father, Robbie and Johnny, having their thing. And one of the things I was trying to think a while back, I was like, how do I describe this season? I call it the season of, for most of the characters, the season of healing. What do you think?
Definitely. It's a season of redemption and a season of healing, definitely. Because one of my favorite things in this entire season, it wasn't the big fight at the end. It wasn't the scratch that, big fights at the end of the season. It was actually a very different fight in this season between Robbie and Miguel.
Oh.
It's like that is the best fight out of it because
I would agree.
Because at this point, it is already revealed that Carmine is pregnant. And this is also a wake-up call for Johnny. Johnny, remember, he ditched out on Robbie. He was a deadbeat dad. He walked out. He ran from it. So now that he is...
And his mom wasn't better at the time either.
No, she was a cokehead.
Yeah.
And, and so it's like, now you have this opportunity for Johnny. Is he going to run or hide, or is he going to step up? This is the best character growth for Johnny in this season because, yes, he's been trying to heal that rift between himself and Robbie. We saw that bit in season 4 where he was drunk and where Miguel is tucking him in, but he's talking drunkly to Robbie instead.
Well, he goes, I love you, Robbie, and that kind of hurt Miguel.
Oh, but yeah, Miguel.
We got to remember Johnny was... Well, when we look at Johnny, let's look at the evolution of just the last few years. He's like, I want to repair the maturity level of his character in these... he wants to be a mentor he wants to be a father to Robbie. But he started out as... thinking of Miguel as an annoyance. He's like, I don't want to deal with this. Fuck this kid. I don't care about this. And then he eventually becomes a mentor to Miguel. He tries to help Miguel and save Miguel and tell Miguel, hey, that's not the way we should do it.
Yeah.
And then, so he's trying to be both a fun, and he finally has a moment where he's like, and of course he does it, in Johnny's style, where he's trying to heal the rift between Johnny, Robbie,
and
Miguel, and him, and each other. And he goes about it Johnny's way. The FBI shirts were just fucking funny.
Oh yeah, because from last season, Miguel ran out of the tournament after he hurt himself and lost, and he boarded a bus to Mexico to look for his dad. And well, he finds his dad, and I love how they didn't really focus too much on it. They only kept it contained to 2 episodes.
Yes.
But I feel that there is something that can happen because of it. I mean, there is a chance to have that revisited upon them, especially in a way now that Carmen is pregnant again. And, well, remember, he's like, are you with these FBI guys? These guys are looking for me. Are you a freaking plant and whatnot? And Miguel realizes that his father's not on the up and up. His father's a freaking cartel boss. And if you remember, he left the front of that store that they were in. And, well, these 2 FBI guys just showed up and are hugging on Miguel. It's like maybe they can bring something out of that in the next season or so. So, but the fight the animosity between Miguel and Robbie is still there. And he's like, you know what? I have a baby on the way. This family has to come together, or else it's not gonna, or there's not, or it's just gonna get out of hand.
It's going to be over before it begins.
Yep.
If he can get Robbie and Miguel together, and I think when it comes to this, it comes down to Johnny's like, if these 2 don't work it out, I'm going to have to make a choice of choosing between Robbie, Miguel, Carmen, and the new baby. And I don't think that's a choice. First off, no father wants to go through that kind of a choice.
No, they don't.
And I think he was at a point where he finally had realized that. Actually, it's kind of funny, ironic in a way, that this is a season where Johnny starts getting his life really together, and it's where Danny's starts falling apart.
Yep.
Okay. One thing about Daniel LaRusso, and I know you watched all 4 recent Cobra Kai movies, or not Cobra Kai, God damn it.
Karate Kid movies.
I keep doing that now. I keep calling them the Cobra Kai movies, and I mean to say Karate Kid. But Danny has a fucking temper, and Silver knows that. And Silver is using that to manipulate him, and I'm just watching. Okay, I'm the kind of guy who understands body language, and I understand how manipulation works, and I understand the human condition, and I could just see everything Silver's. I can see right through what Silver is doing, and Johnny is just, or not Johnny, Danny is just walking into that shit.
He's not balanced. Silver is the biggest unbalanced. Is the biggest thing to unbalance Daniel, because remember, Silver got under his skin incredibly during the 80s.
Well, he did what Kreese didn't do. Kreese never treated him the way Silver did. Silver manipulated him mentally. And I'm going to tell you right now, as someone who deals with mental issues, when you are physically hurt, you heal, you move on from it, you deal with the pain as it goes for the most part. But when you are mentally damaged, it's a whole nother level of pain, and it's indescribable. And when you think about, let's take this fact that it had been roughly 30-some years, over 30 years since he had seen Silver. Now he has seen Johnny, Kreese, Chosen, which I want to get into Chosen because I absolutely thought he was the best. He had the best arc. Other than Johnny, he had the best arc of the season, I thought.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he had a lot of growth too.
Oh, he did. He absolutely had a lot of growth, and I was reading a lot of articles on that stuff. But Danny, his temper and his need to always be in control. I think that it kind of harkens back to when in Karate Kid, he didn't have the control. Now he's had the control for so long during his adult life, through all his struggles, but now he's got everything coming back at him at once. And I think that plays into the 2019 thing that they're still there. Johnny, he's dealing with Johnny. Now he's dealing with Chosen. Now he's dealing with Kreese. And then he's dealing with the big, and you, I think, said it very well with Karate Kid 3. It is the kind of, it's different. I would say next Karate Kid is more the redheaded stepchild, but I wouldn't call it a horrible movie.
I actually think the next Karate Kid was actually a decent movie. It was actually very well put together. It expanded the lore in a way, and it created a chance for more movies to evolve from it.
One of the things I did like also was when throughout the Karate Kid seasons 1 through 4, they focus on certain areas. They focus on, hey, things from Karate Kid 1, things from Karate Kid 2. Then now we're focusing on, Karate Kid Part 3. And kind of like with the other seasons, when you're looking at the Karate Kid movies, it's changing my perspective when next time I watch it.
Yeah. And, or go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you brought up something. Silver didn't want to be involved in this. But once he got pulled in, he just went full bore. Once he was hooked, he's like, and then he started thinking about what he could do different this time and how to manipulate it and how to do that shit. Mm-hmm. And, it was kind of the irony of him taking, kind of poetic justice. He loses Cobra Kai to Silver, just like Johnny lost Cobra Kai to Kreese. They turned on him. Only the difference is Silver did it smarter, because one thing Silver has that both Kreese, Johnny, and Daniel tend to focus on defense or attack. Silver focuses on attack, but he focuses not just on physical attack or physical defense. He focuses on the mental defense.
He goes on mental warfare, psychological warfare. That's something that he learned.
Which is something that is almost more effective than physical combat at times.
Well, it's also a chief tenet of Cobra Kai, because if you look at the chick that he brings in from his former master's granddaughter, and it's like she's also extremely manipulative, but she's also, what was the first thing she said when she got off that plane? Where's Kreese?
Yeah.
That is actually a setup, because also in the flashbacks, you see that Kreese helped her with something and gave her a wink, so that, or you see that there's going to be some growth there. So there is a chance that she's definitely going to be in season 6. But but this woman is so dark side right now that or maybe because we all know that Kreese, or the ending of this season, it's like, you can't end it here. You can't end that here. What the hell are you doing? Put that show back on. It's like, I want another show, damn it. I want another episode. I mean, I was screaming at the end of the show. It's like, no, you can't end that there, man. No.
So
It didn't
funny story.
happen.
So funny story for you, Orange Hat. My well, actually, do you care if we just call each other by our first names? Because I know yours, you've said yours, and I've said mine.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Just
All right.
okay.
So if we use them interchangeably, no worries. So anyway, not shit. Where were we going with that? What were we
I've
talking
also
about?
the ending of Cobra Kai season 5.
Oh yeah. So literally, Kreese breaks out of jail.
And he does it in such a way that is completely unbelievable. If to be completely yes, I know we both got our lightsabers.
I know,
but it's just something to do.
Hey, you grabbed yours, man. I had to grab mine.
Well, I grabbed mine to get my slipper back or my flip flop back. But anyway,
what, you couldn't use the Force? What are you, Corin Horn?
Yes. Anywho, where were we?
We were talking about Kreese's escape.
Yes, Kreese's escape and it being completely I mean, I am not afraid to admit this. I have been in jail, and I know what it's like inside of a jail and a justice center. And let me tell you right now, you can't swipe a person's ID without them knowing or it being on a camera. I don't care if you're in California or Texas or New York or wherever you are. It ain't happening. Because one, it was already established that she needed to use her own ID to get out of the building. And how the hell did she get out of the... Does she sleep there?
Actually,
that was one of the objective flaws of the show.
Well, I was going to go with that because that's a trope in a lot of shows. And as someone who has been arrested 6 times in his life and detained twice, and somebody who has held a top secret clearance in the military, I'm going to point something out here. In 2022, or even in 2019, a badge is not necessarily going to get you straight through. Nope. Normally, it's 2-factor identification. Badge, PIN code. When I was in all my units, all the units I worked in the military, once I joined the Air Force after the Marine Corps, it was either if you weren't in a cleared area or if you weren't in a classified area, you would still have to punch in a PIN code to get in the door. If you were, and it was your own but if you were in like a skiff, then it was you had to scan your ID and then punch in a code. So and as far as I know, prisons are in a similar. I mean, I can't think of too many places they're going to have 1-factor authentication, especially not a jail.
Well, one, it's a 2-factor or it's a 2-factor thing.
Yeah.
But it's not directly, or it's an unlinked 2-factor. One, yes. In the jail that I was in, you click or you flag your ID, but people are looking at you through a camera while you're doing it. So it's like if you're flagging in with somebody else's ID and the people looking at you is like, that's not who that ID says it is, you're in trouble. Also,
every ID is looked, and every time I look, even if there's not people watching cameras, all IDs are flagged. There is a log that shows when you entered, when you left. And actually, I've been in places where if you didn't, when you got in, that was one thing. But sometimes you only had to badge. But the thing was, badging in required 2-factor authentication. Badging out only required 1-factor. And a lot of us would make this common mistake. Not badge out ourselves. Yeah. If we didn't badge out, we couldn't badge back in without getting calling the security manager to reset our credentials.
Yep. Because it's like log still has you in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that one I always have an issue with, no matter what show.
I mean but also the one that I was in, the jail that I was in, they only had cards for emergencies in that jail. You only had cards for emergencies or when you're going into certain areas or out of certain areas, the person at the desk is in charge of the dang door. So it's like you ain't getting, or they buzz you in and out. So that's actually a much better security. And that honestly should be the way that they do it in any sort of show. It's like, you got to be smart about your breakout. Freaking melted jello is only going to get you so far.
Well, actually, I'm trying to figure, even if he gets out the front door, how's he getting past the gate?
That too, because it's like, what the hell is a side exit doing at this or at a jail? Because it's like, are you out of your mind? Whoever came up with this jail system, it
Probably
was the
Cheech
worst
and
builder
Chong.
of jail. If they're not dead already, they honestly should be in jail, because it's like, you honestly have no idea how the hell you build a jail. But that is an objective, or folks, don't get me wrong, I love the show still. I still love the show. But that is an objective flaw for people who actually know about this shit, you know?
Yeah, those of us who worked in there, or those of us unfortunately been unlucky enough to get tossed in one.
Yeah, me though.
Yeah,
it
me
was
too.
through no fault of my own. So I got me too'd. I'm not afraid to admit that. I got me too'd. But it was a false accusation, me too. But anyway, we're not going to dwell on that.
Well, I've been arrested 6 times, detained twice. I've never been convicted of anything. I've never spent time in prison. So,
yeah.
And last time I got handcuffed, arrested, not detained, was like 17 years ago. Only last year did I get detained by handcuffs, and that's a completely different situation. It had to do with the fact I was pulled over by the cop. I had to admit, I had to declare I had a concealed carry, out-of-state concealed carry from Indiana, and I was armed. And he detained me and told me flat out this was for his safety.
Yep.
And I said, one of the things I got to tell people, just don't argue with the cop. It's
never argue with the cop.
Fucking time.
There's time and place for everything. Arguing with the cop is never in the right place or at the right time.
No. So I was there all of, I was detained for maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. And I was like, okay. Got out. My daughter was like, my daughter was there. What happened was my daughter and I were fighting very heavily. Mm-hmm. Somebody noticed it. I'm in a black van with out-of-state license plates. Somebody called the local PD in my hometown. And I told the guy, I said, I understand why you're doing this. You don't know me from Adam. I mean, I'm from here, but we don't know each other.
Yeah.
And I'm totally cooperative and everything. And the only thing he couldn't confirm was my concealed carry permit, which if he had just looked in my wallet or where I could have shown him. But once he's like, look, if there's no priors, there's nothing else, I'm letting this guy go. Because my daughter, and then I get in there, and then my daughter is like, Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm like, look, you gave us 20 minutes to calm down. Let's just go and be done with it. And I think that's in some ways somewhat of what's going on in some of the areas with some of these characters. Johnny, for example, he's pretty much done. I mean, he gets to a point, he's done. He's like, I don't have any beef with this guy Silver. This isn't my fight. I don't care about Cobra Kai. I'm dealing with the fan. And ironically, he's the one giving Danny the prep talk while Danny is hung the fuck over after his wife walks out on him.
Yep.
I couldn't believe she waited as long as she did.
Oh, yeah, because she didn't understand the whole thing about it. And she didn't understand the whole obsession. She didn't understand why Silver affects him. Remember, she only knew Danny after all this shit has happened. She's heard the stories, sure. Or she's heard
some of them,
something here and there, sure. But she doesn't understand the real danger that is Terry Silver. And it actually took her leaving and her reunion with her cousin, who was from the third movie, Robin Lively's character. And takes Jessica to actually explain to her, you don't understand. Terry Silver tortured him, manipulated him, drove a wedge between him and Mr. Miyagi, assaulted me, him and his goons. And this is why Daniel is so hurt right now. And after she understands this and they have their little pretty cool badass moment here.
Bar fight.
Yeah, the bar fight. Now that
did you notice though? Did you catch that the name of the girl that was fighting with him was the one that was mentioned as the one her boyfriend messed around with from the third movie?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so the woman that they got into the bar fight with, the one who's doing the cat calling and everything, she is the woman that was mentioned in Karate Kid 3 who her boyfriend had a thing with, and then they made up.
Yeah.
But and I'm guessing she's still a little bitter about that. Now, that's plot convenience. You have the sister, the girl from Cobra Kai 3, and the mentioned girl from Cobra Kai 3 all in the
Karate
same
Kid.
Yeah. And they're all cousins. In Cobra Kai season 5 at the same place at the same time. I'm like, oh yeah, that's plot. But I enjoyed how I was like, when I was watching it with my wife, and I haven't seen the Karate Kid movies in a while. I haven't recently watched them. And I was like, fuck, that girl looks familiar. This Aunt Jo looks familiar. And then I look it up and I was like, oh, and then, you know, you get through the story and you're like, oh shit, it's a chick from Karate Kid 3.
Yep. I was like, wait a minute, they didn't. It is, holy shit.
But that's been one of the beautiful things when they get a legacy character. And I read up about it. She was actually looking forward to the idea of coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I've noticed a lot of these characters say the same thing. She was only in one episode, but still, the way they do it, even with these cameos they do with just like one episode of a character from another one, they bring something to the table.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just there for window dressing. They're actually, she's like, and then we find out, oh, this is how they're connected. When her cousin came out to California, she introduced him to Danny or mentioned him. They hooked up. They got married. They had kids. Well, you know, okay, great.
Not in that order.
Yeah.
It was, they met. She got knocked up. Then they got married and had another kid after.
But what was interesting is how she done it. She goes, you never brought up Silver. She goes, I didn't think he'd ever come back.
Yeah.
And you know, when she's talking with her about Silver and she's like, Silver's back. And I was like, wait a minute, how does she know Silver? This is before I realized who she was. It took me a while. And then it was like once we started seeing the flesh, I was like, oh shit, now I know how she knows all this.
Yeah.
So she has a really good knowledge. And when Danny's wife says, she's like, so I should cut him a break. Or something to that effect.
You should stand by him, yeah.
Yeah, you should stand by him and you know, she gave her a better perspective of like, hey, I was there. I understand Danny, but I understand what you're dealing with, Danny, but I was there. I saw what this guy did. And she explains it to her, and then we get those nice flashbacks and everything.
Yep.
Oh, did you notice the Knuckles bleeding a lot?
Oh, yeah. They brought back Bleeding Knuckles because, or with Tori. But to go back to the bar scene for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
This is we have all been talking on our channels, me and many others, about how identity politics and female empowerment is being done extremely wrong in Hollywood.
Yep.
In Cobra Kai, it is done right. It's because they're not screaming, we don't need no man. No, they're actually saying it's okay to be with a guy. It's okay to stand by your man and support him. And also, you could be your own badass as well. Because I also love how Sam just drop kicks the right into the bar.
So cool.
And they're like, and I'm like, oh shit. I saw that and I'm like, oh shit.
Line, we should probably go.
Yeah, we should probably go.
yeah, that line is like, okay, we're in a bar fight. We should probably go.
Yeah, we started some shit. We got to get out of here. It's like, nah, you're supposed to finish that shit, man. But no, they did the smart thing. They got out. But yeah, it's when you actually have female empowerment in the show, notice how many others are not complaining about it.
No.
Take it but put in a comparison, say Captain Marvel or something else. And it's like, or She-Hulk. I haven't seen a single episode of that either, and I don't plan to. And it's like, why don't we like these? But when it comes to Cobra Kai and their female empowerment, we absolutely stand by that. Well,
because it's believable.
It's not only believable, you're not hating on a certain demographic when you're doing it. With She-Hulk and Captain Marvel, two movies or two products from Marvel that have basically said men are trash. And then you have Cobra Kai, which is saying, well, men are flawed, but they're not trash. But they also show that women are flawed and not trash. They also show that women can be strong too. Look at all the women in this series. You have Elizabeth Shue when she came back. She was there to basically be a test, but also a good reunion with Johnny. Johnny could have, or was with Carmen, and could have easily snapped back. They had that almost kiss.
And I was like, don't do it, John. I was literally like this during that episode. I'm like, don't do it, Johnny. Don't do it.
Same here. It's like, you kiss her, you better not fuck this shit up with Carmen. I'm basically saying that. I was like, don't you dare kiss her. And
fuck it. I was
don't you fuck this up.
I was like, don't you fuck what you got up with Carmen for this.
Exactly.
Because, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a personal experience. Back when I was in high school, actually in junior high school, there was a certain girl who
always is.
Yeah, of course there always is. Well, anyway.
It was for me too.
Long story short, we reconnected way back years ago. And my current marriage was going through a bit of rocks. And this was back in 2016. There was a lot before that. But anyway, the long story short is I actually got to see her after I hadn't seen her in almost 20 years. And the emotions I was feeling, the desires, everything I was feeling. And then I was fighting that with the fact that if I do this, I lose everything. I lose my wife. My kids are going to be disappointed in me, all three of them. I'm going to... I'm like, do I really want to trade all that for... And this is how I put it. And when I told my wife, because my wife knows about this, I don't keep secret. I don't keep these kind of things from her. But I said, at that moment, I wanted to test myself and see, am I really going to risk everything for a fucking memory? Which is what Johnny and her character were. It was love, young love, but it was a memory now. She was getting divorced. He's now in a transition. He's doing what Johnny does. He's trying to figure out how to navigate because he's in a new situation with Carmen. Because their relationship was still relatively new. And, speaking of Carmen, I love that dream scene. And it turns out it's Carmen is the one having the dream. Because my wife was Johnny.
The Top Gun dream.
Yes, the Top Gun dream. Yeah, you caught that too.
It's like, oh my God. It's like, well, this is for the women. I automatically know it. Because one, they're playing they're doing the beach ball with, or they're doing Top Gun Beach Ball.
Yep.
And then I'm like, this has just gone off the fucking rails. And then I see, oh, wait, that's a babe. This is a dream. Who's having the dream? Well, chances are it's because Carmen is the main feature in the dream and she's staring at the boys. This is Carmen's dream. I was able to put that together just before she wakes up and is like, holy crap, man. And
I missed it. I was wondering. I was wondering if it was Johnny or Carmen, but my wife and I both were thinking this would be kind of a Johnny's dream, and I thought it was a nice fake out to be like, no, that was her dream.
Yeah, because it's like, wait, she saw Top Gun? Johnny, my man.
I'm sure Johnny is introducing her to all the classics if she hasn't seen them.
Well, I believe there was a line. It's like, Johnny, or no, it was between him and Miguel. It's like, we watched that. Yeah, you and I watched it. But getting back to the fight between, because we kind of glossed over the fight between Robbie and Miguel.
Oh, yeah.
With the whole.
Gotten there yet.
Yeah, with that fight, it's like, this is something that truly actually harkens back to 80s and 90s parenting, really.
Yes.
It's like, if you guys, you know what? You guys are not getting all, fight it out. Get outside and just
go in the backyard.
Duke it out.
You know, it's like, go in the fucking backyard. Don't come back until you've had this shit figured out.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what Johnny is trying to do. Johnny is, he is really trying with Miguel and Robbie. And honestly, if you think about it, he's putting his ego, for lack of a better term, because let's be honest, Johnny does have an ego. Mm-hmm. He kind of puts it aside a lot this season.
He really does.
He really does. And he's trying. Give him credit. He tried this one method, then he tried a second method, and he's like, fuck it, we're going back to basics.
Yep.
You two are going to beat the shit out of each other until you're done.
This fucking modern day horse shit's not working. Let's freaking just duke it out with you two. Because honestly, he has no choice in the matter. He has tried everything until he finally realizes, you know what? It ain't me. I'm not the cause of this. This has to be between them. So
kind of like him and Danny.
Yeah. The only way that they're going to freaking get this out of the way is if they freaking fight each other. And they end up fighting each other. And I love this fight. Yes. Because it's not about points. It's going back to the second movie. It's about, it's personal between them. And when they freaking drag it up the stairs, and he's like, oh, shit. And Johnny's like, oh, no, I can't have, this can't happen again.
Like, oh, God, no.
This can't happen again. He's like, okay, boys, that's enough. That's enough. Shit. Fuck, stop. And he's running up the stairs, and they're at the crescendo of this fight where you see that Robbie is very much afraid of what Miguel might do, but Miguel just stops. He's like, I can't. This is out of, or we're done. I can't, and they finally talked it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key thing. They talked it out. And this is something you and I grew up on.
Yeah. We had to basically fight our own battles.
We had to get into a fist fight. Sometimes it would be a fist fight, a drag out. We get it out of our systems. Then we go back in the house and talk.
Yep.
That was how it was. My own parents one time, me and another kid, we were having an issue, and it was pretty bad. And finally, our parents are like, all right, you two, get in the fucking front yard.
Yep.
And they're like, and we're like, oh shit, we know what's about to happen now. Like, all right, get it out of your goddamn system. And it's my mom and this kid's mom. These aren't even the dads. Our dads are at work. These are our moms telling us, get the shit out of your system.
Yep. Because they understood. Boys will be boys, and boys need to handle shit their own way.
Yes,
and
we do.
That's one of the greatest things. Now, after the fight, he's like, okay, so you guys done this shit? Oh, good, because with the baby on the way.
Yeah.
And he accidentally spoiled it for both of them. He's like, oh, shit, I wasn't supposed to say that. You both better act surprised.
And then I was like, oh, my God, you're yeah, like that. Yeah,
you're my mom. It's like, Yeah. It's like,
I actually like how the slip up happened
mhm.
because
It's typical Johnny.
yeah, it's typical Johnny, but at the moment it happened after they just had the big fight and he's freaking out thinking, "Oh shit, did I screw up again? Am I about to have a repeat?" And he's like, "Good, cuz he's so relieved he's not even thinking about it.
Yep.
He's not even thinking that way and it's just kind of like and I think there was a moment there where it's like it was the perfect time for them to know.
Yeah.
Even with their mom telling them later and they'll act surprised or whatever, but the point of the matter is they had just had a knockout drag out. They have held a lot of shit in.
Yep.
They have finally let it out. And for those of you who don't know, when you finally let that shit out, you feel like 20 pounds lighter.
Oh yeah.
You
True.
feel like you lost weight on your shoulders.
You might get sore a little bit here and there
Yeah,
afterward, but yeah,
exactly.
that's the whole point. It's like you took this burden off you, and it was a battle to do it. Now, the wonderful thing about this whole thing with the baby reveal, it's like this can go one of two ways. One is the way that it went. Both Robbie and Miguel are happy about this. This is awesome.
Or the
Two,
second.
yep.
I know what the second one is. They're not happy
Two,
about it.
no. Two, Robbie gets pissed off at his dad again. And I am so happy that they didn't go that route because Robbie could have easily been like, so you're going to be there for this kid, but not for me, huh? No, it's because, or it shows that with the first option that they went with is that Robbie has put aside his animosity toward his dad. He no longer holds that against him. And it shows to Robbie's growth as well. And that is one of the best things about it. They have all finally freaking healed and are united. Notice how later on, when Sam and Tori are going at it, when Tori decides to come clean to Sam, and Sam just goes all freaking rageful bitch on her, it's like, guys, stop. And then he's like, or usually they're like, are you going to freaking, or so you're going to protect her and then girlfriends defending their girlfriends. And it's like, man, what is all this about? I don't know, man, but we can't let it keep going like this. They're actually as one. They're actually sticking together. They could have defended their girlfriends, but they didn't. They're like, or they defended their girlfriends, but stayed together as friends.
They matured.
Didn't. Yeah, they showed it in a mature way. Now,
and I think that threw probably Sam and Tori off because, like, wait a minute, you two are.
They did well. Tori was like, "Screw this, screw you, LaRusso." She ran off because she didn't know what to make of it. Where Sam also went off because she's just too pissed off. She can't get over the fact that her family was nearly destroyed because of what she witnessed and didn't come through with. And I love how they could have easily had, well, the boys are in the wrong. No, they didn't. Miguel came up and said, should Sam have come, or should she have come out? Yes, absolutely. You know what? She should have. But she didn't because you got to look at it from our perspective. I've been in that dojo. I know what the fear is like, what they will make you do, and you will keep your mouth shut because you are afraid of what might happen. Also, so yeah, I can relate with her.
Also, remember what Tori is going through that we know. And what I love about Tori's character is she has a story arc that is there, but it's not like 24/7. She's taking care of her brother. She's trying to get a job. Her mom's sick. I mean, shit, we figure out, I think, in this season, her mom has gotten worse. She's on a ventilator.
Yep.
So, and I mean, all we saw was we're hearing the ventilator sound and we just see that bed and we're like, oh shit, she's got to turn for the worse.
Yep.
So, and you've got poor Tori there trying to take care of her mom, take care of her brother,
now
take care of herself, and take care of the house.
Yep. And now with a broken hand.
And Cobra Kai was her outlet. Yep. And Kreese saw that potential, and I think he actually, I think between her and, I think between Kreese and Tori in this one when she visits him in prison, I honestly think he was trying to recapture what he had with Johnny. And I don't
In a
mean
sense,
because
yes.
yes, because I think he generally cares for Tori, just like I think he cares for Johnny. I don't think he gave Johnny back that second place trophy he broke and fixed it just to manipulate Johnny. That crease manipulation, especially if you watch Karate Kid 3, manipulation is not really his forte. His forte is very direct.
Yeah.
Whereas
And Silver is a whole different animal.
no, Silver is very manipulative, and unlike Kreese, he's got money,
Mm-hmm.
and money buys power. And
Yep.
unfortunately, that was the case with this. But between Tori and Sam, I figured that was going to come to a head. I was curious to how Tori was going to deal with this. And when she confronts Silver, and Silver flat out is like, "Yeah, I did it.
Yep.
You still what?" He's like, "You still won," and maybe she did win, but she's never gonna know for certain now.
Yep.
And then you
Because
have that scene. Yeah, no, go ahead.
and we have basically the same scene replay with the fight for the Sekai Takai.
Yeah, that's how it sounds, Sakai Takai.
Yeah, I was actually calling it the Setai Takai, but it's like, oh, I just looked it up while we were streaming, and it's like, yeah, I've been saying it wrong the entire time. But
No,
we'll just call it the World Tournament because that's
yeah,
essentially what it is. Dragon Ball Z reference there, folks, for anybody who doesn't know. The there's this whole thing, and freaking Karsten Norgard, who everybody knows, he's a Swedish actor, but he also has a very Viking-like name. He's played Viking characters. He's played Nordic characters. He's played Iceland characters. I mean, we all know him from Mighty Ducks 2, where he played the coach for Iceland. And he's played Canwolf from Highlander. I just love this character because this is somebody that Johnny can actually relate to. Because this guy, when they say that Cobra Kai is not the only dojo, they look at both dojos, and well, then they screw up, or Sam kicks a freaking watermelon into this dude, and it's like, or Johnny's like, sometimes you just gotta, or I'm very sorry about that. And you think that they've totally screwed up because this guy has such a bad, or he has such an expression on his face that is that's about to basically say, you guys are completely screwed up. But no, that's not what happened. You see, Johnny goes on to this Rocky rant. Sometimes you just got to go up, climb that mountain, and just scream. And when he does it, he's like, Drago! He screams it out. The actor does, Norgard. Karsten does, and it's like, when I saw that, I'm like, wait, what just happened? And he's like, that movie was, yeah, that movie.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and then he's like, that movie really brought my home country together and whatnot. And it's like, Germany? Or no, or Sweden? Okay, well, there you go. But also because Dolph Lundgren, I believe, is also Swedish.
I believe so.
Yeah, he's Swedish. He goes over to Sweden every now and then. I mean, during the pandemic, he was.
Doesn't he have like an engineering degree?
Dolph Lundgren, that dude is literally a genius. I mean,
Yeah.
Bill Nye the Science Guy is a freaking engineer by trade, where Dolph Lundgren, they covered it in Expendables 2. He's a Fulbright scholar. He's a chemical engineer. Dude could do explosives if he wanted to. And he is a genius. I mean, Dolph Lundgren plays all the big, bulky characters. But dude's a freaking genius. But going back
Stockholm,
to
Sweden. You're right.
yeah,
He is Sweden born. He was born in Stockholm.
yep. But going back to the show, it just works. And this character, who's one of the representatives for the Sekai Takai, the World Tournament, with the whole Drago thing, it's just like, okay, so now they have an edge on fucking Cobra Kai. But one of the wonderful things is you see how they're all doing this super technological training advanced shit with Cobra Kai, right? This just reeks of Rocky 4 with Drago's training with
I
all
didn't
the
even think
equipment.
of that.
I
You're
mean, it's like
right.
there's just so much freaking Rocky 4 innuendos here. Going up against superior foes and what or all of these, it just works. Now, the actress who played Kim Dae-un, the girl or the female instructor, she came across in this season as monologuing a little too much, where she comes across, no offense to anybody of any sort of Asian descent, her character was written in a way that she gives a lot of villainous speak when she's fighting, you know? And I'm like, that is a little bit where it got weak, but because I mean, you're getting a stereotypical villain here. And also you're getting a stereotypical Asian villain here. So that's where it does kind of muddle a little bit. But for the most part, her character was truly great when her character forces Tori to punch the stone, to break the stone, and where Tori busts her hand doing it.
Bloody knuckles.
Yep, bloody knuckles. And it's like, oh, damn, man. I mean, no offense, all Tori needed to do was go to the cops right then and there after she did this, because it's like, I was forced under duress by adults to break my own hand. And that right then and there would have been the end of Cobra Kai, the dojo, because one, you have a foreign national in here who is holding a child hostage. Two, you have another adult who is forcing a child to hurt themselves, to basically crucially injure themselves. So I would love to see a lawyer watch this show and be like, yeah, there's a lot of laws being broken here. I mean, not legal, because that dude's just he may be a good lawyer and shit, because there's this YouTuber called Legal Eagle, but
I know him.
Yeah, he's really unleashed his bias in shit lately. It's like, stick to fucking movies, man. Stick to freaking shit like that. Don't be talking about legal shit when you're not going to talk about all the legal shit, especially in real life situations, because he's been going after Trump and shit like that. It's like, okay, well, now we know where your freaking bias lies. But I would actually like to see a lawyer like Legal Eagle watch this show and be like, yeah, these are laws that are going to be, or that are broken. And I think we need to actually, how did they get away with that shit? But, it's the way it's written, and I have no problem with it, because eventually every indiscretion you have will come to bite you in the ass later.
And one of the interesting things that happens in this series is about midway through is after Daniel's wife leaves him, but she hasn't left him, but she's like, I'm going to my sister.
Taking a break.
Kids. I'm taking a break from this shit. And he's drunk and he looks like hell. And Johnny's kind of like picking him back up, kind of like Danny did in the earlier seasons. And it's kind of like the changing of the roles there. And he's like, dude, just let it go. It's kind of funny, but it's Johnny basically telling him, let it go. It's not worth it. And Danny's willing to let it go. He's like, okay, he's finally had enough.
He gave up after he got his ass kicked by Silver, though.
Well, that's
Silver
where I was going.
literally.
That's where I was going there. But the point was, I think he was willing to call it a day. And he's like, you won. I don't care if you take the valley. Silver just couldn't let go at that point. And then the
Yep.
problem is, Danny lost that fight. I'm going to say this. Danny lost that fight before it even started because he was too busy letting Silver get in his head. And I could just see the writing while I'm like, Danny's going to get his ass kicked.
Yep.
And then when he busts his knuckles and they're bleeding, I'm like, oh shit, man. And he's looking at his knuckles and it's like he's remembering back then. I'm like, you're thinking too much. You're thinking too much. You're thinking too much about the past. You're fighting with your emotions. You're not fighting to win. You're just fighting out of anger. And gets his ass handed to him. And that's really, I think, when Danny got his lowest point. It took Johnny literally the one to be like, okay, Johnny and Chosen are the ones who basically pick his ass up.
Oh, yeah, because they also give him the wake-up call he needs. And then his wife is back, and it's like, or she's the one that's freaking helping him eat or basically chew through a damn straw at this point. And it's like, holy shit, man, he got his ass really torn into, or Terry really torn into him. This is the first time you actually see them actually fight each other. And he actually tears into Danny, and you see the real skill of Terry Silver. And it's like, holy shit, dude, this dude was actually quite skilled. But then again, we get to the fight later on where they finally, or they need to stop Silver. Silver has done too much. Well, thankfully, Tori knows that, or she also convinces Stingray to come forward, but not in the way that they do. And I absolutely love that because they confront Stingray because Stingray is bought and paid for by Silver.
Yep.
And they go and he is letting the team Miyagi-Do know. It's like, he goes through this whole D&D scenario.
Yeah.
But the scenario completely explains what really happened. And everybody's like, we don't got time for this. No. Hawk is the smart one about it. Tell us your scenario, or tell us your campaign. And he tells them, he's like, and they're like, well, this doesn't really help us. Actually, it really does. Because if you could get that on, or if you can uncover that video evidence, you now have him, or you now have Terry Silver right where you want him. Well, they get that far. They find that video. It's just been tampered. So it's been altered. So it doesn't show what happened to him and whatnot. So they're like, well, we got the next best thing, where they upload it to Cobra Kai's website. Now, before we get to the main crux of this, we also got to talk about the training sequence that Chozen gives the Miyagi-Dos.
Oh, the egg.
Protecting the eggs.
Yes, please go through that, buddy.
Let's
talk about Chozen real quick before we get into that. So Chozen was the antagonist from Karate Kid 2. He was not a good kid. He had a lot of issues.
He was very aggressive.
But one of the things I like is how his character matured when we got to first see him, and he's like, I've been waiting for this a long time. Honk. Yeah. And I was like, is he gonna, literally when he said that, I'm like, is he gonna honk him?
Yeah. And I absolutely love that.
I did too. And I loved I loved Chozen coming back. I loved him talking about what happened to him after everything, how he basically got himself up from his bootstraps and pulled himself up by his bootstraps and, did something decent with his life. But
it wasn't just him, though.
Yeah.
The part of his growth that I absolutely loved is, now a lot of people will say that this is cliche or that, they could have spotted this happening a mile off. But it's like, honestly, there's absolutely no fucking way in hell that you could actually spot this coming a mile off. No. Where he has actually always been in love with Kumiko, considering he nearly killed her.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
But so I don't think that's a cliche because I want to point out the fact Japanese culture, American culture.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, the way he describes it, because he was talking to Johnny, and Johnny kind of spilled the beans to Daniel, and Daniel's like, dude, yeah, man, call her up, let her know.
Yeah.
As a person who has waited too long with a lot of different things, don't let her know how you feel, because Kumiko, even though he held a knife to her throat at the end of Karate Kid 2, when he left, who was the person that went to find him? She was. And he even said, this happened when we were kids. We would always play hide and seek. She would always find me. Well, back after I lost to you, I was a man without honor. I was a person who was at his lowest point. I wanted to just basically die. She found me. She talked to me. She forgave me, even though I didn't deserve it. And this just shows the real growth of Chosen, because you also see that there's a little bit of Chosen you see the more darker Chosen in this season, unlike you saw in the third season. The third season, when he was in Okinawa, you think that he might be that way. You think that he hasn't changed, but then you see the lighter side to him. Well, in this one, you see that he is still that lighter side, but you also see that he's willing to go certain routes. When they tried infiltrating Cobra Kai, and Chosen is teaching, he's a plant, and they Terry has those senseis go after him. I'm like, did none of you watch Cobra, or did anybody here pause? Did anybody here watch Karate Kid Part 2? And it's like, remember when Daniel and Kumiko went to Sato's dojo? He's like, the point is to move very quickly. 5 or 6 freaking black belts done in like 3 seconds. And I'm like, shit.
I gotta go.
Well, that fight there, it's like he's only improved since then.
Well, what I thought was interesting was, how he got found out. And it was all based on a simple
word.
Yeah, just one word. That's how Silver figured out who he was.
My friends in Kyoto, when we always raised a glass, they always said "kanpai," where you said, or imagine my shock when you said "kari," only spoken in Okinawa.
And Chosen now knows. He's like, yeah, you got me.
Yeah. Because he was the one that said it. He's like, "kari," and he understood. He's like, that's what got me. Shit.
He's like, oh well.
Yeah. So we get that fight, and it's like, you honestly have no idea who you're screwing with, Silver. I mean, true, you may have got him at the end of the movie where you almost killed him with the sword, but still.
Technically speaking, that was a bitch move.
Oh, it was definitely a bitch move, but remember what he said. And legally, this is his, this is his legal out. You busted into my home, so any injury inflicted herein is completely justified.
Yeah,
but honestly, not in California anymore, though.
Oh, nah. Silver will be out on no cash bail in no time now.
No cash bail, not to mention, well, actually, no. He would actually be arrested for defending his household. If Chosen had died, he would be arrested for manslaughter. They don't allow you to defend your household.
I actually was wondering if Chosen had died.
I know. And he got a Long Island iced tea, and he's like, should have got a Short Island iced tea. That was one of the best freaking comedic lines. But anyway,
I love the dialogue. I love the bonding between him and Johnny.
Yeah.
Where they just talk about, their past with Danny.
I pushed him down a cliff. I robbed him on a date. I saw him take out a guy with one move. Who do you think taught him that move? He's like,
what do you think taught him? I challenged him to a fight to the death. They're kind of like trying to one up each other.
Yeah, they one up each other, and then they find out that, well, we really can't because Daniel is just too fucking good. I threw him off. I pushed him off the cliff.
One thing, just to transition back real quick before we get to the last person, because we're at an hour and 10 minutes.
Well, we do got to finish up the shows.
Talk about and then talk about that. Is I noticed something very similar over the seasons. Sam has a lot of her dad's temper.
Oh yeah, she has her father's temper, and it's actually a nice little twist because her brother is the privileged little prick that kind of takes after his mom, where Sam takes after her father.
Yes.
And it's her character, or a lot of people think that her character arc is really weak, where it's like, this is one of the most conflicted characters, and that's why her character is good. I like her character because of how conflicted she is. She has the trauma of losing to Tori. She has the trauma of nearly getting killed to Tori because of her arm and whatnot. She has all that trauma, yet she still battles on, and she has to reconcile herself before she can reconcile anything else.
Yeah, and that's a part of this story arc that she goes through. And Yaz and Moon are, well, more Moon, I think, in their own way, because Yaz and Moon, they're Valley girls. I mean, through and through, they are Valley.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, that's the thing I like about Yasmin and Moon. They're the PC. They're the politically correct. And they have a little bit in each season, and then they mock the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's like, well, we don't call it a deprivation chamber. It's called I don't know what the fuck it's called.
I don't know what they call it.
And it's like, I don't care. It's a fucking deprivation chamber. Deprivation is just so negative. Shut up. I mean, I wouldn't really do that to a girl.
Nah,
but honestly, it's like,
to her.
It's like, just shut the fuck up. I mean, I'd do that to her ego.
Slap Moon. She's too sweet.
I'd check their ego. Let's just say I'd check their ego instead. It's like, you got to stop thinking of things as so negative and positive, and stop thinking about people's feelings all the time. Think about reality. But anyway, back to that.
They're really on the outside of it, though.
They really are.
I mean, even though Moon is dating Hawk,
and Yasmin is dating
Dimitri.
Yeah, Dimitri, who also gets
really
his moment.
kind of on. Oh God, that whole makeout scene between her and Dimitri. I was like, what the fuck just happened here? And that was that was back in season 4. I was like, wait a minute, what just happened?
Yeah.
But Chosen, I was very impressed with. He was probably my favorite of the legacy characters to get more backstory this season. I absolutely loved it. Can't wait to watch Karate Kids again, and just the different perspectives. And then I was talking with my wife because we watched it together, and this is how we watched it. Friday night, before it came out, I told her, hey, it's coming out Friday. She goes, okay, I don't want to binge watch it. I want to take it in doses. It's like, okay.
You binge this shit.
We watched 2 episodes Friday. Saturday, 3, 4, 5. Wife's like, okay, we're just going to finish it. I'm too invested now.
Yeah.
So we spent the rest of Saturday, we spent Saturday watching the rest of the season. And
that's basically how a lot of people did. It's like, you can't not binge this show. There's absolutely no way.
Binge worthy.
This is a binge show. You can't, and that's the crux of it. You want to keep it played out so you don't have to wait so long for the next one, but it's just so fucking addicting that you gotta. And that's why I like John Hurwitz and them, because they freaking did it right.
Well, it was like with my wife, I told her, I was like, okay, let's just get to halfway through. Let's get to episode 5. And then once we got to episode 5, she's like, nope, we're watching 5 through 10.
Yep.
The episodes, this is happening. And that's what we did. God, I was so tired after that. I was mentally tired from the gymnastics of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Chosen, man.
Just, the characters. I mean, here's the key thing, folks, if you watch this later on, is that it's the characters, the story, the writing, the directing. the new characters, the old the legacy characters or old characters.
And they're bringing in the real or the
Actors.
actual actors that did those movies. They're not bringing or recasting or anything, folks. When they brought in the girl who was or who Daniel saved, that was the girl that Daniel saved. When they brought in Kumiko, that was the real actress who played Kumiko. When they brought in Chosen, it was the same guy. They are bringing in all of them. When I saw Elizabeth Shue in the 3rd season, it's like, yeah!
Yes! Oh, come on. We were all waiting for that one.
Oh, exactly.
We were all waiting for that one.
Oh, and I just love her opening line. Oh, I just can't wait because this is going to be so much fun. And it is so much fun.
Or like when she talks to Danny's wife and is like, yeah, I dated both these guys. Oh, you are now my new best friend.
Yep. And it's like, holy shit.
And well, I mean, it's been so long. She's just like, oh, I want to hear about it. And then they have those fun conversations talking. And that one scene where she even talks about, I told you the brakes were going out.
Yep. She basically set him straight. It's like, that was a nice little teach there because you got to have both sides to the argument. Did you tell everybody that this and that and whatnot? And then she explains her side of it. And it's like, you know what? It works. Because we do know that Daniel was kind of an ass in certain circumstances. But back to Chosen, when his whole teaching of the egg and thing, and then at the end fight where they got to protect the egg was great.
Go into a more explanation of this, how they failed and how they learned to protect it the second time.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm going to hunt all of you. I'm the serpent, and I'm going to eat all your eggs or destroy all your eggs. And they all go off on their own thing, one-on-one. They all get there, and Daniel's son is there. He's like, I give up, sticking his egg out, and freaking Chosen just goes up, really freaking disappointed, crushes the egg. And then it's him, his own son, or Daniel's son, that puts it together. He's like, what if it wasn't one-on-one, folks? And he's actually has his own growth in this as well, where he's like, let's all protect all of our eggs. We're going to put our eggs in one basket. And I love how Chosen doesn't make it easy for him. He charges them. He uses his weapons. He does all that stuff. But they also push back on him, and it is so great. And he's like, the serpent concedes. And when
then you tie that into the end.
Yeah, where they have to protect the iPad or iPod looking iPad thing so that it can upload onto Cobra Kai's website or YouTube channel. And I'm actually going to look up Cobra Kai's YouTube channel later, but see if it's actually there. But
there you go.
So they actually have Silver's confession on the Cobra Kai channel, and the Cobra Kai kids are looking at this like, what the fuck?
But remember,
we've been trying to tell you, kids.
Well, remember the point where they finally realized when one of them goes, protect the egg. Yep, and I was literally starting to, and I was literally thinking right before that, I'm like, my wife even beat me to it. She's like, protect the egg.
Yeah.
She's like, y'all need to protect the egg.
Yep. Because everything that they do early on, in true Miyagi-Do fashion, everything you learn will be used. And my favorite is always going to be from the first Karate Kid, where he's like, show me wax on, wax off. How'd you do that? Show! And everybody thinks that when Johnny goes, quit! Everybody thinks that's Johnny's thing. It's actually Mr. Miyagi thing originally, but it's just it's a connected but not connected thing. But anyway, when they protect the egg and they finally get it happening, and it's like, oh shit! So he's like, that's it. Just this isn't going to change anything. And Daniel's in there, and we finally get the rematch. And one of the things that originally I thought was kind of cheesy was when Daniel uses the crane kick at the end of the fight. But before we get to that, he also uses Quicksilver against Terry. His methods, if a man can't breathe, he can't fight. If a man can't stand, he can't fight. If a man can't see, he can't fight. He uses all of that against Terry. He hits him in the ribs. He gets him on the ground. He also knocks him down. And then he does his crane kick. And it really is a nice way to basically beat out Terry with the crane kick, because that was the one thing that Terry mocked in the third movie.
Yes, I was wondering if you were
going to beat him with that crane crap. Now, originally, I kind of thought that the crane kick was cheesy until somebody else pointed that out. It's like, well, actually, that's the perfect way of him beating him because of how much they mocked it. It's like, you know what? Now that I think about it, you are absolutely right. That is the perfect way. And the kids are like, they start taking off their Cobra Kai shit. Also the complete betrayal, the complete Judas of penis breath was just, it's like, how could you? I don't know, maybe because you all keep on calling me penis breath. It's like, seriously, why do you guys still calling him penis breath? And no wonder the kid fucking turned. But also the end is where it's like, we're finally getting some romance with the kids. Awesome. And Tori's like, just shut up and kiss me. I don't think I could talk about anything else right now. And you also have Miguel actually fully admit, flat out, I love you. Then it's like, not just saying that, are you, man? No, man, that's what you do for people you love. And it's like, oh, shit. You better not knock her up. Now, I want to ask you this. You know who Emilia Clarke is, yes? Dany Targaryen?
Yes.
Does this girl who plays Sam look like Emilia Clarke a little bit? Would you say that those two look alike?
Maybe in the facial structure, but I don't know about the hair color. Maybe hair color and facial structure, not skin tone, obviously.
Yeah, because it's like, why do I keep on thinking this was Emilia Clarke playing this character, even though I know that she's way too old to be playing this character? And then I see that it's what's her name, and it's like, they look alike, man. They could literally be sisters or mother and daughter. So
I could see that. I wasn't a big Game of Thrones fan, so I didn't really.
I like the first 4 seasons, especially when that little fucker dies. But anyway.
Oh, you mean the Purple Wedding? Yes, I did keep up with my. Yes, like you, I may not have watched a lot of it, but at the time, but
I was always Team Stark. I was always Team Stark. House Stark. I wanted a Stark to win. And after that fucker died, or after that tyrannical little shit dies, because believe me, he was doing everything to earn that death, man.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean,
but back to Cobra Kai, they had.
You had
we never covered Mike Barnes. We never covered Mike Barnes.
No, I was actually going to get to that because I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
What did you think of Mike Barnes' show? I mean, he always shows up for like 2 episodes.
Yeah, but they have to bring him back for season 6.
I actually I was like, it was kind of like the same thing with Joe showing up. I was kind of, wait a minute, I know this guy. And then you realize it's the other antagonist from Cobra Kai 3.
Mike fucking Barnes.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I had to quick do some research because it had been, like I said, it had been a while since I watched the Cobra Kai movie or the Karate Kid movies. Yeah. And, you know, I loved how he explained what happened to himself. He was banned from karate tournaments. The only thing he knew, he met a man who taught him to do other things with his hands. He got married. He took over. He works for the family business. He's helping him and his wife are running the family business. He's made peace with his life. And it kind of annoyed me that I'm like, God damn it, Danny, you fucked up his life now. Or you brought him in the middle of this shit.
Yeah, because it really is. It's like, because I also love the whole setup between him. He's like, you're not going to ruin my family. Because the phone call with whoever he was talking to, I think it was his wife, it's like that stuff in Italy and whatnot. It's like, you know that this is just purely being set up
Yes.
for complete misunderstanding. Daniel LaRusso? And it's like, and it was just so, you just got me off, or 10% off of a commission, man. Not happy about that.
Oh, I
So,
like the part. Yeah,
yeah.
and the part where Chosen comes in because he's misunderstanding what's going on.
Yeah.
Him and Mike Barnes have a fight, and then they're sitting there talking, and he's like, "You seem to be liking that couch. Comfy. How much?
Comfortable. How
Normally
much?
1,200 for you. 2,000."
Yeah.
And he's like, he gives that moan, but he buys the goddamn thing because he's trying to be the honorable person.
Yeah. And then he's telling the guys, don't get blood on my couch. Very expensive. And it's like, you fucking opened them up, you jackass.
It's like, you're the guy who kicked her. He's like, if this misunderstanding, may need to call hospital.
Yeah.
And if you think I'm making fun
Don't
of
need to
how
call
we
hospital.
talk, folks, later on, this is how he actually
This
talks.
is, that is how he talks. We're not doing any sort of racial discrimination. This is actually how he talks. And I just love that. So then they get the whole thing. They were trying to bring down Silver. And I also do like the Psy moment in the beginning of the season. It's like, Psys are not Psys are not for stabbing. They're for blocking and gouging and clawing. And it's like, oh my God, man.
But Mike Barnes, they brought up the whole point of Mike Barnes saying, yeah, he had a lawyer write this contract up for me. I mean, who does that? Now, granted, I understand it's kind of like, why didn't you think about that back then, Mike Barnes? Because he was a fucking kid.
Yep. He was the bad boy of karate. And so then
Silver was manipulating him just like he was manipulating Danny.
No, the lawyer called Silver.
Yeah, what I meant was in the Karate Kid 3 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course the lawyer's like, hey, I got a call from, and that's when the whole thing happens, and that's when Danny gets his ass kicked. Because Silver's like,
he's like, I told you to just let it go.
Now Silver burning down Mike's apartment.
It's implied, but it's never confirmed.
Oh, you know it was him.
Oh, we all know it was, but but I do love how Silver doesn't fully admit it. Well, that sounds like a crime. Or what a crime. And it's like, yeah.
And let's take what happens with Mike Barnes after this, after he sees this go down. His entire world just went to hell.
Just got shattered.
In less than 24 hours after seeing Danny again. After 35 fucking years. So he's dealing with the insurance. He's probably dealing with his wife. His wife is probably flipped out. Her father's building has been shut to the ground. And he goes, my wife. And it's kind of implied his wife maybe separated from him for that time. But it's probably just her dealing with the grief. Because this was all very, very quick. And now he's like, I just lost everything. All because I said one fucking thing. Yep. And because Danny just showed up at my fucking place after 30 years. And, he blames them for it. And then they finally admitted Silver. And I thought it was hilarious. Remember the fact they've all been drinking.
Oh, yeah. They've all been drinking. He's high on something else.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he probably got a little coked up. But it's like,
I think
just by the size of his pupils, he's on something a little strong. And I just love, it's like, Chosen, help me out here. I know Silver's address. It's like, I know where he lives. It's like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me, Chosen? It's time to put Pandora back into her box. It's like, oh my fucking God.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't condone heavy drug use or anything like that. But if he had a little coke or cocaine, I think after what happened to him, I can give him a pass.
Yeah, his whole fucking life just burned up before him. That place was leveraged to the hilt, meaning they were not doing so well until they got the place, or they haven't really launched their damn product yet. They were still getting it taking off,
And even with the insurance, it's only how much is the insurance company going to give you?
Exactly. So
and then you have to rebuild. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, it's insured. You still have to fucking rebuild.
Yeah, you guys don't understand. Insurance only helps you so much. I mean, if you're taking the insurance and walking away, fine, you got a little bit of a money made back, but that's still not all or enough. But yeah, I one thing I didn't like was how little Mike Barnes was utilized, but I'm hoping that it's because he's going to be utilized in this next season because this is the perfect moment for them to do it. It's like the bad boy of karate didn't get to fight Silver yet. And I would have loved to see Mike Barnes cut loose on Silver, but one of those dishonorable little fucks smacks him in the back of the head
Yeah.
and makes him come in at the last second when after Johnny has already had a second win because of being reminded that his kid is away. I mean, that isn't, like I said, folks, depending on the right motivation, you can go from like 1% in the tank to 120%, depending on the right motivation.
Everything at that moment.
I've had that happen to me one time.
Yeah, and he even said it to Carmen. He's like, yeah, the picture of the baby gave me the kick in the ass I needed. I mean, he said it basically like
and
that. Yeah.
Paraphrased slightly, but
I would like to see more of Mike Barnes. I think we could. So anyway, folks, the show ends. Silver is arrested.
Yep. Because also Stingray recants his testimony.
And then ironically, Kreese breaks out of jail.
If only he would have waited just a little bit longer, he would have been released. It's like, it
would have been a retrial easy.
Yeah, it would have been a retrial easy. He would have been released and exonerated and vindicated.
And had a lawsuit against Silver.
Yep. And it's like, shit, man. But now he's going to be on the run. Chances are he's going to go to Kim Dae-un for help because there's most likely going to be a relationship there. Not an intimate one, but one that is built on something else, built on friendship. Even though Kreese doesn't have a lot of friends.
I see her helping him.
Yeah, because she was wondering, where's Kreese?
I still see, yeah, exactly. When you brought that up, it's like, yeah. And I'm thinking Silver will probably be back in the next season, season 6. So
probably,
let's go ahead and end this out because we're at 1 hour, 32 minutes. What are your thoughts for season 6? What would you like to see and what do you expect to see?
I want Julie to come in from Next Karate Kid because honestly, they're going up for the Sekai Tekai, the world tournament, and I would love to see her somehow involved in the next season. I don't know how they're going to write her in, but chances are I'm going to love it anyway because the writing is very well done. I would like to see even the villain from Next Karate Kid because he's done some interviews with Cobra Kai Theory or Star Wars Theory, Cobra Kai Theory, and he's like, I'd love to be in it, but they haven't really called me for it yet.
Michael Ironside or Walter Goggins?
The other one, not Goggins.
Oh Michael Ironside?
Or no, the other one, the one that was friends with Goggins.
Oh,
the main one.
I thought Walter Goggins was the main villain.
Nope, it was the other one. But he's been doing his own thing for a while. But I would love to see him come in, see if they can actually fit him in for a redemption arc himself, you know. And Michael Ironside, I think he's retired from acting, I think, but I'm not sure. But I would love to see the Next Karate Kid incorporated into the 6th season. I would like to see the build up to the world tournament. And I would like in the next season to see Sam's character resolved. Not taken out of the show, but her conflict resolved. Her inner conflict. Holding that on for like 3 or 4 seasons is all well and good, but you can't keep, or you run the risk of dragging it on. And she needs to really resolve that conflict. She started making peace with it with Tori and them in the end of this season, but it really needs to be fully resolved. They have to have they basically got to have their Miguel and Robbie fight. They got to have it to where they can respect each other, because Kreese in the last season before he got arrested, he's like, win but do it right. We're not cheating this. Except that he didn't know that they paid the guy off. Also, that was something in this. Sorry to keep this going a little bit, but I do like how Chosen gave Sam the right advice when they were doing a fight for both, or to see who's going to be in the world tournament. Sam had to fight what's her name instead, and the referee was
full of shit, and you knew it.
The referee was bought and paid for it, and so Chosen says, make every point undeniable.
Yeah, and I love that part where he's like, hey, because she's talking about, I hit her below the show. I hit her below the line. I did not hit her above there. Yeah. And that's when he's like, make everyone, obvious that
there's every no way point, they can.
Yeah. Make every point obvious. There was no way that he could not call the point.
Yep. And then there was the last part where he actually looks at Silver, and Silver's shaking his head no, to basically say, don't give her that point. Well, point LaRusso. It's over. And because it was an undeniable point, that he would have outed his own self right then and there.
Yeah. And it's not like he's going to do that.
Nope. And that was one of the greater parts of it too, because now we're seeing that, or at that point, Silver can't buy his way into the Sekai Tekai, the world tournament. So both Miyagi and Cobra Kai, however, Cobra Kai is going to have to go under management of Kim Dae-un, who is, I think that's what's going to far happen. More ruthless. Yeah, because she wasn't arrested, although she and her coterie, or her menagerie of senseis, are going to have to beat feet soon, unless they can get diplomatic visas or whatever. I don't know what you got to do to get in here and stay for a while to run a business. But it's like, I own 50% of Cobra Kai now, so, and the other owner is mired in legal trouble, so fuck it, I'll buy him out. That's the only.
It really could be that. Yeah. It could be that simple. What I would like to see for season 6, one, I'd like to see Julie come back. I would like to see, them explain how their interaction, just maybe bring her back for like Elizabeth Shue, just for like a quick episode or two. Yeah. Talk about her experience with Miyagi versus his experience, just kind of reminiscing, kind of be like a reminiscing, kind of like with Joe and Danny's wife. It's just kind of, or like with Elizabeth Shue and William Zabka, when it's kind of, mostly a reminiscing. There are a lot of ways you could go about that. Which I think would be interesting. Maybe she could be a judge.
That's what I'm thinking. She might actually, that's my prediction. She might actually be involved in the tournament committee.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because I was like, what would she be doing? Did she start her own JoJo? Or I was like, no.
I'd like to see what she does. I mean, she might even be a wildlife activist. Who knows? Because of the hawk. But I would... Julie, it's time for Hilary Swank to put the gi back on. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I was reading an article back when Cobra Kai first came out, and I think it was after the first season, and Hilary Swank was getting constantly asked that question, are you going to be in Cobra Kai? Are you going to be in Cobra Kai? And she didn't actually realize what she even admitted. She goes, it was so funny. I didn't realize what Cobra Kai was. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because when she did Karate Kid 4, it wasn't her against Cobra Kai.
No.
So this is not something she's, very familiar with, and she's had a very long career since then.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't one of her best movies. This was one of her earlier movies.
Yeah, she was younger. This was one of
Yeah,
her
she was
early
very
starts.
young in that. And but she said, yeah, it was so interesting. I kept getting asked this question, then I had to look into it, and it's like, oh, now she understood why. And they asked her, would you be interested? She goes, never say never. I mean, I don't
Exactly.
know if I mean, she probably doesn't maybe have that deep
She's
of a connection, but
she has shown, or there's a picture of her holding a Cobra Kai Blu-ray,
really, I
and
did
it's
not see
like,
that.
yeah, there, or look her up, and or look up Hillary Swank, and it shows that, or there's a picture on her online holding one of those Blu-rays with a smile on her face, and it's like, don't you be teasing us, Julie? Don't you be teasing us?
I could see that. I could see that. I could see her being like maybe an official or somebody involved in some way, shape, or form with the world championship.
Yeah,
I could see that's how they meet up. And I think this final season would be great. I want to see Chosen back. I want to see. I actually do. You brought it up earlier. I would like to see Mike Barnes get his revenge on Silver.
yeah. I would also,
I could see it like this. I could see him trying to manipulate Mike Barnes by talking about his teasing around how he's the one who burned his place to the ground and got away with it.
well, he wouldn't openly do that because he's smart, and not to mention he's under a lot of scrutiny right now. I would
But
like
I
to
could
see
see.
Kumiko come back though, also in
Oh,
season
Kumiko would
6.
be nice. Oh, Kumiko
Or
would be nice.
having Kumiko come back like she did in season 3 with see if that actually does work with
Her and
Chosen, see
Chosen,
if they actually do bring, because he's admitted that he cares for her.
and he called
He
her.
or and he called her. Let's see if something can sprout from that seedling,
I
because
would like to see that
I
definitely.
would. A lot of people
Absolutely.
would say, well, that's kind of cliche. No, folks, really, it isn't. Again, as you say, Jess, it's not the same as American culture. Also, there is a connection. It may not, or obviously Kumiko is now up there in years. Um, is it a chance she might have kids? Who knows? I don't know. I'm not about to speculate whether she's went through menopause or not. But because Chosen did say that he would like to have kids someday or whatnot, and there is a special woman in his life that he cares for. So I would like to see her come in to show support for Miyagi-Do, and to it really would mean a lot if she could actually do it, to actually come in to be supportive during the Sekai Tekai, the world tournament.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that'd be great. Well, it also one of the great things about Cobra Kai is it brings and adds weight to the Karate Kid movies, knowing that Chosen actually has always had a love for uh,
Kumiko,
Kumiko, yeah, and
not Kumito.
yeah, sorry,
Naughty. Get it right. You're racist.
but the fact that he's still holding that, and that he was holding it even back then, and as a child didn't know how to express it. And I think I think that'll be a great story to bring up in season 6, because it's probably the one bridge he has not fully crossed along during this journey from his dishonor.
Yeah.
He's come back from a lot of things, but this is the one he's still, even though we know they're talking, we know they're still close,
Yeah.
and she probably knows that he has something for her, but their culture is different than ours. So
Yeah.
it's not like she's just going to say, just fucking come out and tell me you love me. That's not how their culture works.
No, there's traditional values that they stick to.
Yeah. That'd be a great thing. Three things I really want to see at the end of this is I think this would be the one where Robbie and Sam are going to win the tournaments. Are going to win in the tournament because they've been the ones who still haven't won yet.
Yeah.
So I could see it being those two to win the world tournament. I'm going to assume they're going to have a boys and girls section because, you know, in that part of the world, they actually do still separate men and women.
In some parts, yeah. I mean, honestly, I would love to see a co-ed fight.
It would be interesting to see, but we'll
It'd break all the rules, but I'd love to see it.
But we'll see how it plays out. I'm
Because
fairly still
next
confident
Karate Kid did that.
Yeah.
Next. Now, before we do go, I do want to ask you, what did you think when Sony announced that there was another, or that they were going to do a Cobra or a Karate Kid movie? And then what did you think when John Hurwitz confirmed they're not going to be connected to Cobra Kai?
Honestly, after I figured out it wasn't going to be connected to Cobra Kai, I lost interest.
Yeah.
Because the last Karate Kid movie I saw that didn't connect to this universe.
You mean the Kung Fu Kid?
Yeah, the Kung Fu Kid. I never understood why they called it Karate Kid. I'm like, you're in China, you dumb shit.
Yeah, I know. It's like, this is not, or they called it, apparently somebody put in my comment section, they called it the Karate Kid only in the United States because people, it's like, you could have called it the Kung Fu Kid. People aren't stupid. They know Kung Fu China, Karate Japan.
Yeah, we're not that ignorant.
I mean, we're not completely stupid, folks. But you know what? They did what they did. And not to mention they completely ripped off the story of Karate Kid with that story. I mean, using different tactics to teach martial arts. And also having a tournament and whatnot. It was basically the same thing. Bullied kid learns martial arts from a teacher and goes on to win a tournament. That's it. Is the story of Karate Kid, but they could have called it the Kung Fu Kid.
It would have made a lot more sense if they had, but
Yeah.
I never did understand why they made that remake. Well, actually, I do know why they made that remake. Will Smith was trying to get his son on a path to stardom, which has not taken effect because, sorry, kid, you ain't your dad.
No, you're not. And you're also coming across as too thuggish, especially when you say, that's how we do shit, defending your dad assaulting Chris Rock. That's how we do shit in our family. Oh, so you're going to just go up and break the law just because somebody says a joke about your mama? Well, your mama's a bald woman. Deal with it.
Yeah, there is that.
I ain't afraid to say it. Your mama could be the gender bent, racial bent Lex Luthor.
Well,
No. Sorry. Hold on. Sorry. Very sorry. I have to say that can't be true because that was already given over to Ayanna Presley. Never mind.
One of the but yeah, the show, like you said, I remember how you said it when you were talking about it on your stream when you know, they are walking this fine line between satisfying literally. I mean, seriously, how often do you hear people bitch about Cobra Kai?
You don't. And if there is a vocal whiner group, it's very few and far between. Because, sure, you're going to have the, oh, it's a white savior show. Honestly, I don't think anybody's heard you or heard anybody talk about that. Because this show does have its diversity. Miguel, you also have, well, Sam and them are Italian. So, yeah. I mean, sure, Johnny's white. You got Chosen. You got all sorts of interesting characters who are all very well diverse.
We didn't even talk about Kenny. We'll have to talk about him another time.
Yeah.
Kenny's in there. Tori has a different, but all these kids are all these people, they are so different. Kenny is different. Robbie is different. Miguel is different. Everybody's come. Diversity of, like, you know, screw diversity of color. I usually talk about diversity of thought. This is literally a show about diversity of life.
Mm-hmm.
And how your life growing up one way can affect you. Like, remember that very early scene in that one of those scenes in where they're at Danny's old apartment complex. He's like, man, when I lived here, there wasn't even water in this pool. And he
Yeah.
goes, when I was your age, we had a pool twice the size. He goes, must be nice that money. He goes, my stepdad had the money, I didn't. And he's like, and he starts to realize he didn't really, come to think of it, and it was something Elizabeth Shue's character said, reminding, it's like, you two are more alike than you want to admit. And I think there's a key point to that, to be like, look, you guys are very similar in a lot of ways. You grew up differently. He grew up poor, came rich. Johnny grew up, his father was gone. He's got a stepdad that ain't worth a shit. Took care of his mom, and he had money. But he didn't care about that money. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, he's always said, I never cared about the money. I just wanted a basically in some ways implying he just wanted a family. And he didn't feel like he got that. So that's one of the reasons when he showing him seeing Cobra Kai way back then, this is what he's like, this was his focus. And that's the crux of this show is what, the martial arts, because it's like martial arts will bring you into focus. How you do it is going to determine how you use it. As you and I both did, I haven't been in martial arts in a long time.
Same here.
But the point is, you're going to use it based on how you act.
Yep.
And that's one of the things. I mean, he was focusing just like, I think in some ways, a little bit like Tori to a lesser extreme. This is their outlet. That was their outlet.
Yeah.
That was their way to be like, I can breathe. I can vent my anger. I can vent my frustration. I can do this here.
Hey, LDG.
What's that?
Sorry.
Hey, LDG.
We got somebody in the chat.
Hey, LDG. What's up, bud?
Good to see you.
Finished binge watching Kai last week. Good job. About time you did something right.
I would say the last season was a bit off, but the ending with Kreese escaping was awesome. Yeah, we went over that. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but it works for entertainment.
We're gonna have to take suspense of disbelief, and like I said, somebody Pickles. I would agree. That last part was a bit off, but I thought overall, I think overall, these past 5 seasons have been probably some of the 5 most solid seasons of TV I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are there flaws? Of course there are flaws. We all admit that. Are there things they could have done better? Of course there are. But when you look at the quality of the love, the care that is going into this show.
The respect.
Yes, the respect. There you go. Right there. Is just amazing. And I looked it up, and this show was initially, I believe, pitched for 6 seasons. So I could see this being the last of the, let me put it this way. I think this will be the last of the core show, Cobra Kai. I can see spinoffs coming. And I would not be surprised.
What they really should do, which would be completely unique, which I actually said in my excitement video about Karate Kid being announced before I learned otherwise that it's not connected. They should make a closeout movie.
Oh, there you go.
Because then you have a completely unique franchise. The Karate Kid movies, this whole franchise started with movies, middled the road with a series, and then ended on movies.
Well, somebody asked me about, somebody was like, why are they making this Karate Kid movie without the Cobra Kai guys? I'm like, cash grab. I'm sorry.
It is. If Sony, you guys honestly need to think about what you're doing, because look at the success of Cobra Kai. Why are people watching it? And now look at the complete disconnect of interest when it was confirmed by John Hurwitz that there's no connection to your show. Sony needs to listen to this. And I will plead with them on freaking line. It's like, I will tell you guys flat out, if the Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid franchise is not connected to this new one, you're going to have a flop. You're going to bomb.
Yeah,
people want to see the relevance. They want to see the relevant material continue.
Yeah, exactly. And this
There's
movie,
no reason.
this Untitled Karate Kid film doesn't even come out until 2024.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you got plenty of time to change your fucking mind and get it right. I don't know.
It could seriously be that John Hurwitz can't say anything, so he would obviously say that. I mean, it could be a misdirect. Who knows?
That's always a possibility. Oh, he's not much older than me. He was born in 1977.
Who?
Hurwitz.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's only 44. But yeah, I think that really. But one thing, Hurwitz and I don't know how to say it, Schlossberg. I don't know how to exactly say. They love this franchise, and I have heard them talk about it and how much they're grateful. I mean, these people are really wanting to give the fans what they want. They're not looking for PC. They're not looking to please the SJWs. They want to make a good show that everybody can enjoy.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they confirmed that when you have, or when with the whole, or which season was it? It had to have been the second season or third season. Why are we running a meeting on what to call manholes?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's pretty blatantly obvious now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. They're like, dude, we don't want anything to do with that shit. We just want to tell a good story. It's like, keep that shit out of here. And since 2018, they've been able to do it. When I saw Top Gun Maverick, I flat out stated on Loki's channel on Twitter, when I was typing in the chat, I was like, seems like Top Gun Maverick went to the Cobra Kai school of, this is how you continue a fucking franchise.
Yep.
And I've been saying that. I've been like, I've seen other shows that have come up, and I've been like, you guys need to fucking watch Karate Kid and then go watch Cobra Kai. That's how you fucking do it. You take a 35-year-old franchise and you manage to somehow make it so good that people our age and people my son's age, who's 15, are loving it. That's called lightning in a bottle, when you can get cross generations to watch a show and love it.
Indeed.
And that's all I got, folks. That is it. Those are our predictions. That is our thought. We actually kept this going about an hour longer than I planned, but damn it, it's such a good fucking show. It deserved an extra hour, so hell with it. I don't care. I'm not unhappy about that. This is, if you have not seen Cobra Kai, folks, or you've never seen the Karate Kid movies, I'd recommend it. If you like martial arts, this is really a great show. The Karate Kid, Orange Hat and I grew up on as kids. It was kind of one of those influential things that probably got a lot of people into martial arts back then. I know it did for me. And I think Cobra Kai is doing something similar, kind of showing, hey, because we haven't had a real dedicated martial arts series in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been the one we've gotten in. They have played it so well, and the characters are so well written. And it's just, I find amazing. I am very surprised. I mean, I get so hooked when the new seasons were coming out for the last 4 years. So I don't know if I ever told you this, Dan, but when it showed up in YouTube Red, I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, I like this. So I went and I paid the $5 for the rest of the season. Called my wife, who was in Turkey at the time because she was there for that year. And I was like, yeah, you remember the Karate Kid movie? She goes, yeah, I enjoyed them. I said, I think you should watch watch this show, Cobra Kai. I'm like, just watch the first 2 episodes and see what you think. She's like, okay. Next morning rolls around. It's Saturday morning. I did not get back to the rest of the show. It was Friday night. It was Friday. I had the kids to deal with, other things going on. And my wife goes, where you at with Cobra Kai? First thing in the morning, I'm like, I haven't seen past episode 2. She goes, you need to watch it. We need to talk. Like, get off the phone. It was literally like, get off the fucking phone. Pull that shit up, spend the next 4 hours watching these 8 episodes, and then call me back. Because she wanted to talk about it. She was so excited to talk about it. And I'm like, I miss that a lot of times. I mean, there's so few shows where you're so excited to talk about it. Normally, half the time we're either talking about it in a bitch or we're just not watching the shows at all because we're like, I ain't dealing with that shit.
Right.
But that's about it. All right, folks. Well, I am done. Orange Hat, what do you got going on, bud? Plug your stuff.
Well, tomorrow I got another mystery review, and the hints are live action and cartoon mix. It's not as obvious as one might think. There are multiple movies that fit that description. So that is your hints. The complete month of October is going to, or the hints for the mystery reviews, or the big hint for mystery reviews in October, all of them are horror movies. So there's your big hints there. And you will get more hints at the end of each respective stream.
Live action and animation. 2 movies come to mind right off the top of my head.
I have at least 6 movies that fit that description.
Now, I'm just thinking of 2 that come off my head. One starred Bob Hoskins, one starred Don Knotts.
One also starred Dick Van Dyke, and another one starred
Emily Blunt. That's right, Dick Van Dyke.
And another one starred Emily Blunt.
Oh, I can't think of that one. Emily Blunt, I can't think of that one.
Mary Poppins 2. So we automatically know that it's not Mary Poppins 2.
Oh, I've never seen Mary Poppins 2. There are some things I'm just like, I'm not going to watch the sequel. I don't care.
Yeah, it didn't grab my interest much either.
But I can think of now 3. But anyway, all right. Anything else, bud?
Nope, that's all. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube. Also, you can find me on Minds and Getter every now and then. And I'm also on Facebook if you really want to look for me there too.
All right, everyone. Have a blessed one.
Yep.
And you got a bike going by.
Yeah, I know.